am not so confident about stacking my cakes. Should I build my cakes from frozen layers? The simple answer is yes, you can build your cakes from frozen layers, and this will give you the same result as non-frozen cakes. However, before you think of building your cakes from frozen layers, a few things you have to consider include understanding what this might cause if the cakes are not thawed properly. Now, when cakes are built from frozen layers, over time during the decorating process, when the cakes are left at room temperature to thaw, moisture and pressure builds in the cake, forcing some cracks to appear on the surface of the cake. So to be able to get the best result out of frozen cakes, the best thing to do is crumb coat the cake and wrap the cake in a layer of cling film and leave it to set at room temperature. This will allow the cake to thaw, come into room temperature completely, seemingly appearing as a freshly made cake, and then the decorating process can continue. This will eventually guarantee you some great results and remove the issue of cracks appearing on the cake. Alternatively, the other option is to follow the same process and wrap the cake. Leave it in a fridge, regulate the temperature to a lower form, and allow the cake to thaw slowly. What this does is it allows the cake to come to room temperature or to set without being frozen, which eliminates the case of the pressure and movement in the cake that will eventually cause cracks when the cake is decorated. As long as you follow all these processes, making sure that the issues of cracks and pressure in your cake is mitigated, then of course you should be able to get the best result out of building your cake when you stack from frozen layers. Still on the subject of frozen layers, on this channel I have made simple recommendations from how to get the best layers of cake to stack without stability issues. The cakes can be wrapped up warm after baking and set in the freezer to freeze completely for up to 24 hours. The cake can then be brought out hours before it is needed so it thaws completely. The cakes can then be leveled after and used as needed. If you want to skip the freezing process completely, then of course the same process can be followed and the cakes wrapped in cling film set on a countertop between 24 to 48 hours. With that noted, if you don't have time on your hands and you have to bake and decorate the same day, perhaps a good tip is also to let the cake cool completely after coming out of the oven, and then level and layer the cakes and leave the cake layers in the fridge to set cold. Stack the cakes as you normally would and leave the cakes to come back to room temperature before covering in ganache or buttercream. It's not such a bad thing to build your cake from freshly baked cakes. However, doing that means that your cake layers are a little more delicate and are prone to crumbling during the decorating process. So allowing your cake to set completely, firming up the crumb helps to steady your cake, helping you achieve a better stacking process. But whether fresh, frozen or non-frozen, you can achieve the same great result following the tips that have been recommended. The next question is, why are there cracks in my cake? Now, I paired that question with the previous question just so that there are similarities of tips I can share. But there's not much context given to cracks or where cracks may be emanating from or what specific crack in the cake we're talking about. All I know is that your cake has cracks and you don't know why. So I'll be giving you detailed generalized information about where cracks may occur in your decorating process, the reasons why those happen, so that in between that you find your answer plus a little more information that will be useful for you. Cracks may occur in your cake due to frozen layers, and that is simply because when cakes are built from frozen, the frozen layers, when they come to room temperature or during the thawing process, moisture and pressure builds in the cake, which causes evaporation and movement in the cake. The movement or migration of pressure in the cake then eventually breaks through the cake, causing cracks to form on the outside of the cake. To stop this from happening, perhaps it is a good thing to allow the cake to thaw during the decorating process before the cake is completely done. And so that is one way a crack can form on a cake and how to stop that from happening. Another second way that cracks may happen on a cake is through the buttercream or ganache covering the cake drying out. Now, during the covering process, from crumb coating to polished look, the cake is covered in either ganache or buttercream. Now, whilst those ganache or buttercream are protective layers keeping the cake moist from within, they are also exposed to the cold on the outside when the cake is set in the fridge. And depending on what temperature the cake fridge is at, this is likely to dry out the buttercream or ganache. When moisture then evaporates from the ganache or buttercream, it leaves superficial cracks on the cake that can be thin on appearance or deeper. Now, the difference between the cracks caused by inner cake layers and the outer ganache or buttercream moisture evaporating are quite similar. The cakes that have cracks from frozen layers or pressure building on the cake has deeper cracks that threaten to almost break the cake, whereas the ones that are caused by cracks on the outside due to water evaporating from the buttercream or ganache are a little lighter and a little more superficial. To avoid that problem, do not keep your cakes longer in the fridge than necessary. Also, ensure that the temperature in the fridge is regulated so that there is not a wider variation of temperature differences that causes cracks on the cake. Using commercial fridges and home fridges are completely different and set to different uses in terms of the temperature variation. So the processes to avoid some of these cracks happening in a cake, especially in a commercial setting where a commercial fridge is used, may be different compared to a home used fridge. Another way that cracks can happen on a cake is when you have unsteady baseboard, i.e. the cake board underneath the cake or the cake board on which the cake itself is displayed. If you have an unsteady cake board, lifting the cake and moving the cake may cause shifts that is likely to impact on the cake, causing cracks to happen along the line. So if you do not want shifts to happen that causes cracks in your cake, perhaps a good thing to note is to use steady baseboard. But the cracks that happen on a cake because of the baseboard perhaps almost always appear on the bottom side of the cake. So that is something to look out for. One more way that cracks may happen on a cake is when the cake is filled with soft filling or soft buttercream that have not been secured properly. The thing about soft fillings are that they do not hold themselves and therefore require to be kept in the cake through using a border. Now, if you use unstable buttercream to pipe the border whilst using the soft filling, at room temperature or when the cake is storing, the buttercream becomes soft and the weight of towering layers is likely to push down on the cake itself, thereby also causing the soft filling to break out. I have had incidents on this channel where similar things have happened where the jam has leaked out of my cake, and that is simply because I wasn't able to secure the jam properly with the use of buttercream. So an alternative is to perhaps consider using ganache, which sets solid when chilled so that it can keep your layers together and also keep your soft filling from within, and perhaps use steady buttercream, or the consistency of the buttercream has to be firm that when it is set chill, it can secure your soft fillings and prevent shifting. Now, I have a tutorial on this channel where I had to stick a dowel in cake layers to mitigate some problems with shifting. I did mention though that the dowel itself doesn't take away all the stability issues, but it solves one problem, which is the shifting and sliding of the cake layers. So using a good buttercream consistency and ensuring that your soft filling is secured in your cake makes for a good outcome, so cracks are eliminated.